Inshallah, a few quick reminders. Number one, when we come to masjid and we stand for salah, when you come to the masjid, we stand for salah. Focusing on men right now, we should be very particular that the saf is healthy. The saf should be very healthy. Which means what? Which means that we should not leave spaces in the saf. Which means that we should all be in the straight line. Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, when they would stand in the saf, then everybody would extend their feet first to the right so that their ankle bone would strike against the ankle bone of the person standing to the right. This way they would know that I am not behind or in front of the person who is standing next to me. And then they would bring that foot back, and then they would try with the other leg. They would make sure that their ankle bones that they have aligned before they would stand in the saf. So they would make sure they would not be always a line or a carpet or something like this, but they would do whatever is needed to make sure that the saf is straight. The other thing is that we should stand next to each other. There should not be spaces in between. Sometimes there is as much as a whole person's space in a saf that we have left in between. And sometimes what happens is that during the salah, say one of us, he breaks his wudu. We see during Taraweeh all the time that a person, when the Jamaat has started, then somebody realizes and he leaves the saf. So when the salah is started, when you are in the saf, you should not leave the saf unless you really need to. Getting the water or something like this is not enough excuse. If you are really thirsty, you would die or you would not be able to concentrate or you would pass out or something like that, go grab the water. But otherwise, just because you have a habit or something, or you want to keep hydrated or something, get the water before you start the salah. And when somebody leaves, then the others should cover it. They should cover up that space. How should we cover up that space? There are two ways to cover the space. People who are standing to the sides, they move in. They move in means what? They move closer to the imam. So if there is a space that is left empty on the left side of the imam, then the people further left, they should move in. And if it is on the right side of the imam, then the people further right, they should move in. You should not move away from the imam or from the center of the saf to cover up the space. Also, the person behind, he can move ahead to the next saf, to the saf in front of him, to cover the space. When you are doing it outside the salah, it is very easy. When you are doing inside the salah, don't run, don't rush, very calmly move to complete the saf. Especially in Taraweeh, when there are many people. So for example, if there is a person who leaves the saf, who breaks the saf, and there are 5 people who have to move, better than that, somebody from behind, he moves in to complete the saf instead of the whole train moving. Also, when we come and we join the salah, when we join the salah, we should get there where you have to start the salah first. It's not that entering the door you say Allahu Akbar, and by the time you complete your Allahu Akbar, you have landed where you want to stand in the saf. Get there, then start the salah. If you miss the rakat for that or salah for that, then that is fine. Don't rush in, don't break the protocol. This is how important the protocols are. From the fasting, one of the things that was mentioned was about the cleaning of your mouth during the fasting. We should not use the toothpaste or tooth powder during the salah, during the fasting. Even if we are sure that it would not go down from our throat, it is best not to use it. It is makruh to use it even with all kind of precautions. Miswak, it is not only allowed, it is sunnah, it is beloved of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he has used miswak during fasting. Both kind of miswak, the dry one and the wet one. Wet miswak does not mean that you wet it in water. Wet miswak means the fresh miswak. That means the when it was broken off from the tree, either from the root or the branch, then it was still fresh. So using either of those miswak is fine. It is actually beloved to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even if it gives off taste, for example, if you are using a neem tree miswak, which is also beloved of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you are using that, then it gives the taste. That is also fine. That would not nullify. That would not impact your fasting. Or it gives off little pieces of miswak, especially when you are using a dry miswak. The little pieces of the miswak would come off. You would gargle your mouth and you would throw them out. If one of them gets stuck between the teeth or whatever, that is also fine. Do that before the end of suhoor time. So don't do it last minute. You will, oh, I already started. I already started does not mean that you can finish however long you want. You still have to finish before the time for sahri, for suhoor finishes. You have to finish eating, brushing your teeth, all of that before that. If you're using miswak, then you are fine. Then if the fasting breaks, there are multiple levels, multiple things that would hurt your fast. Some of the things are, for example, somebody tells a lie, or somebody is engaged in such things that would remove the reward of your fasting. Your fasting still has to complete. You do not get to start eating or drinking because you told a lie. Yes, the reward is gone, but you still have to complete. If you start eating or something and you say, because I already told a lie and I have broken my fast, if you do something like this, then that eating will break that fast. If somebody breaks a fast knowingly, intentionally, then he has to not only do that fast after the Ramadan as a missed fast, but also for this crime of breaking that fast intentionally, he has to fast 60 consecutive days. 60 consecutive days. For ladies, when they have to take the break for the permissions that Allah has given, that is fine. They would continue the count after that. But others, if they miss for other reasons, if you miss a single day, even because of the health reasons, you have the count resets. You start again. So it is very serious that we complete our fast of Ramadan, first fast. If somebody breaks it because of a mistake, for example, he was taking a bath and then he gargled or during wuzu. Now he knows that I am fasting, but it was such that he did, and then water went through his throat or through his nose. Now this would break his fast. One is by mistake, one is when you have forgotten it. If you did not remember that you are fasting and you drank a whole gallon of milk, you are fine. But if you remembered that you are fasting and by mistake it is very small amount, then still the fast breaks. But when it is by mistake, you only have to do this day of fasting outside Ramadan. You do it intentionally. Because you were forced, or because it got too hot or got out of your control. Still you have to do 60 days. So one is you do something where the reward is gone, you still have to complete the fasting. One is when you break the fast, when you ate something because you forgot, it did not nullify your fast. You do not have to do the qaza, meaning you do not have to fill in for this. Your reward also continues. The rest of the day you continue as fasting person. One is you break it by mistake. When you break it by mistake, now if he eats or drinks something, then that would not add more to it, but one should always, now this is very important, if you think that you have broken your fast by mistake, or you broke it by for whatever reason, you should still strive to continue the rest of the day as a fasting person. Ask an alim, a scholar first that this happened. What should I do? Until you get the answer, still continue your day as a fasting person. There are many people who thought their fasting was broken because something happened, because they took a medicine, or because they threw up, or because something happened. Their fasting had actually not broken, and they thought that we have broken our fast, so they started eating or started acting like they are outside the fasting. So even if you break your fast, you think you have broken your fast, continue the rest of the day in Ramadan. Talking about Ramadan fasting, if you think that you have broken, ask an alim, and until you get a clear answer, continue your day as a fasting person. And we talked about putting any ear drops or water through your ears. So there are three cases of this. The simple one is avoid it. Don't put anything in your ear. One of the newer research, it mentions of ulama, not the research in a science journal. A newer research of ulama mentions that if the water goes through in, or the medicine, and it goes through the membrane that is in the ear, the fasting would still be fine. But the membrane gets broken sometimes, especially the diabetic people and other people also. Sometimes you may know, sometimes you may not know. And if that happens, that membrane is not there, and the drops or whatever is in your ear, the oil or drop, and it passes through without that membrane, then that would break your fast. Also, those who have the habit of eating gutka or pan, somebody is taking that in the sahri time, and then or whatever else he likes, and he put it in his mouth, and he dozed off, and by the time he woke up, the sahri time was finished. If that thing is still in your mouth, both of these things that we mentioned, they have the tendency that with the saliva they would keep going down through your throat. So your fasting is not valid now. But yeah, if you had already thrown out and you had gargled, but there is still some color left or something, or smell left, then that is fine. That would not nullify your fast. Your fast would still be valid. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.